Hello, welcome. I'm Sunshine. This is a rapid fire review of the 61 books I read in 2024. I'm going to try to keep each review to 1 to 2 sentences each. I've never done this before, so we'll see how it goes. Oh, I forgot my mini books. Sorry, Hannah. My dog's down there like, girl, what's wrong with you? I made mini books for the 61 books I read, and I don't know what purpose this serves, but they are very, very cute. Wow. I'm gonna put them there. And this is Hannah. Excuse me, honey. Okay, you just go. Okay. The One by John Mars. So The One is a thriller disguised as a science fiction book that explores the unexpected results of finding your soulmate perfect match through DNA matching. Multiple POVs, interesting character, a wild ride, 5 stars. The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. So The Cruel Prince is about a morally gray human girl, Jude, forced to live in the land of the Fae, and her proving throughout this entire series that she can fit in with the Fae big dogs, okay, who look down on the human race. It is an intoxicating mix of political scheming and plotting, a slow burn romance, absolutely 5 stars. The Wicked King by Holly Black, a ruthless sequel to The Cruel Prince, It Owes Me Nothing. The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. This is how you end a trilogy. This is how you end a series. Dramatic, shocking twist that still makes sense to the story and completely satisfying, 5 stars. The Lost Sisters by Holly Black. The Lost Sisters is a novella in the Folk of the Air series, and I was really excited to read it because I'm interested in the sisters, but I was a little disappointed. But it did not take anything away from how great the rest of the series was. 3 stars. A Court of Silver Flames is the 5th book in the ACOTAR series, which I just found out today is not the final book. This series is still going. I did not know that. I don't know why I thought this was the final book this entire time. But it was a little slow and underwhelming, but satisfying enough. 3 stars. Happy Place by Emily Henry. Happy Place is a continuation of my up and down relationship with Emily Henry's books. I did not fall heavily for the romance in the story. I did not find the characters all that interesting, and I also feel like as grown adults they could have handled the conflict better. 2.5 stars. You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose, or maybe I just shouldn't have read this book. It's an Airbnb gone wrong thriller with weird vibes, flat characters, and somehow both predictable and stupid plot twist. 1.5 stars. I felt like these books should just come to me a bit easier. Oh, there it is. Perfecto. Okay. The House in the Cerulean Sea is a whimsical magical fantasy about a strict by-the-books caseworker who is sent to evaluate 6 dangerous children living in an orphanage, and he just discovers the most heartwarming, beautiful found family. He will go to war for everyone in that orphanage, and I will go to war for this book. Period. 5 stars. One by One by Frida McFadden. One by One is another bad thriller. Stop going in the woods and cabins with people that you don't know, and if you are going to do that trope, at least try to make it more interesting. 2 stars. The Outsider by Stephen King is a triggering and somewhat hard to read book, but if and only if you can get past that part, which a lot of people will not be able to, but it is a really interesting, disturbing blend of crime and horror as a graphic crime in a small town unravels into something far more sinister. 4 stars. First Light Wins by Ashley Elston is a thrilling cat and mouse story of Evie who takes on false identities to perform heists and crimes and realizes that she wants to get out of the crime world, but her boss is not going to let her go that easily. High stakes, super entertaining, 5 stars. Dark Matter by Blake Crouch is a thrilling, action-packed science fiction about a college professor who gets knocked out, and when he wakes up, he is this renowned, successful scientist. But his wife is not his wife, and his son was never born, so he's got to figure out how to get back to his family. Some parts get a little bit extra science-y. The plot and concept was so good. 4 stars. So if I put that... Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for that book. The Followers by Brede Godfrey is a fun thriller about this influencer Molly who finally makes a post about her man, and someone from his past who believes he has done some terrible things uses Molly's public lifestyle and her social media to track them down. This was such a page turner and a very unique domestic thriller. Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas is the first of the 8-book series and the start of me becoming increasingly jaded by the romantasy genre as a whole. I really did enjoy this series, but I think it just was too much Sarah J. Maas in one year. I gave book 1 3 stars, but the series does get a lot better. So I did read the full series this year, and I'm not going to go into each book individually. So here are all of my ratings for the books in the Throne of Glass series. And I will say this about the author, no spoilers, of course, but Sarah J. Maas has this kind of annoying habit of making her women protagonists have these corny, cringy, laugh track, overly sassy lines. Like she'll get captured and say something like, "Oh, are those knives, or are you boys just happy to see me?" And I'd be like, oh my gosh. The author keeps calling it swagger, but her side characters and all the other characters in the books are super strong, so it does balance out how annoyed I sometimes am by the main character. The Crescent City was the absolute worst with it, wow, but Throne of Glass does it too. But anyways, I still enjoyed the series. I think that's about it for that.
Oh damn, you moved on the books.
Yeah.
What the hell? Take a look different.
But I swear, this stack of books, I be like taking so much time searching for the books.
You got a whole inventory. You got a bookstore on your table.
I know.
I'm back in like 2 hours.
Okay, love you. I love you.
I love you too.
Oh, there it is. There you are. Damn. Damn. An Anonymous Girl by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen is about a struggling makeup artist who is looking to make a quick buck. So she volunteers to be a part of this psychological study about ethics and morality, and she just gets caught up in this crazy web of lies and manipulation with the psychologist. There's 3 questions on the back of the book for the survey. Could you tell a lie without feeling guilt? Have you ever deeply hurt someone you care about? And should a punishment always fit the crime? Dum dum dum. This was my favorite thriller of the year, 5 stars. You Are Not Alone by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen, and the same authors of An Anonymous Girl and The Wife Between Us, if you've ever read that book. And when I say these authors, when they get together, they make magic in these pages. So this book does have trigger warnings. It's a kind of weird book about this sad girl, Shay, who sees another girl jump in front of a train in front of her, and Shay becomes obsessed with figuring out why that girl did that, and Shay becomes accidentally on purpose connected with that girl's mysterious group of friends. Very interesting book, 4 stars. Entrepreneurial Leap by Gina Wickman is a nonfiction business book that I bought because it was on sale and is very brightly colored, but unfortunately the insides fell a little flat. 2.5 stars. The Dare by Harley LaRue is an erotic Why Choose novel about Jessica, who used to be a mean girl high school cheerleader, and her losing a dare to a guy that she used to bully, Mason, and having to serve him all night. And maybe his boys too. This book was fun. 4 stars. $1 Million Weekend by Noah Kagan is another nonfiction business book that I feel simplifies the process of becoming a successful business too much. 3 stars. So let's keep it moving. Who's next? The Husband's Secret by Leanne Moriarty is a domestic thriller about a woman who discovers a letter written by her husband that says to be opened at the time of his death, which she of course opens immediately, and she reads about his deepest, darkest secrets. This book has great storytelling and multiple POVs from different characters in the city, and you really get to know how their lives intertwine. Very good book, 4.5 stars. Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer is such a cute and quirky read about a love story with the villain, and it is delightful and adorable, and that's really all there is to it. If I really want to get in a mood where I'm just kicking my feet and singing and whistling and just happy with the world, I will read a book like this, or read this book specifically because this was a reread for me this year. 5 stars. Apprentice to the Villain, book 2 in the series, also adorable and witty and cute, and 4 stars. Atlas of the Heart, which is at the bottom of this stack that almost, no you don't. Atlas of the Heart by Brené Brown is one of those books that I do not shut up talking about. She and her team spent over 2 decades researching human emotions, and Brené Brown wrote this book about 87 different emotions and experiences, both positive and negative, that define what it means to be human. She discusses them, defines them, gives their triggers and examples of all of these different emotions, and she gives us tools to better communicate with each other, just improve human connection as a whole. 5 stars, 5 stars. This was a reread for me as well this year. Also, it's just beautiful. Like, here's an example of one of the chapters. Places we go when the heart is open. Love, lovelessness, heartbreak, trust, self-trust, betrayal, defensiveness, flooding, hurt. I love this book and I will never shut up talking about it. Art and Fear is a little bitty book that I saw somewhere. Art and Fear by David Bales and Ted Orland is a short nonfiction book about why we create art and, most importantly, why we don't create art. It discusses the psychological barriers that prevent us from doing what we love, which is making art, and I recommend this book for every creative, 5 stars. It's a short book too. Time for my #1 book of the entire year, Chain Gang All-Stars by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. It's a dystopian literary fiction about the American prison system where in this world, prisoners can either choose to serve their sentences or publicly fight each other to the death for their freedom, gladiator style. The book follows multiple prisoners as they fight for their freedom, but it focuses on 2 Black women warriors, Loretta Thorwar and a woman who goes by the stage name Hurricane Stacks. This book wrecked me and also simultaneously made my year. And it was the best audiobook I listened to all year. 5 stars. I literally cannot recommend this book enough. Oh, here it is. Perfect. That was easy. Enduring Love is a literary fiction about a freak ballooning incident that brings this random group of men together. And in this group of people, there's this guy named Jed. And Jed sees Joe, our main character, and decides that they are madly in love and just shared something special. And Jed becomes obsessed with Joe, and Joe, who is happily married to a woman, becomes borderline obsessed with Jed's obsession. Very interesting book, 4 stars. Did I drop it? I don't think so. Art Inc. by Lisa Cogden is a nonfiction art book about the essential guide to building your career as an artist. Super simple and straightforward, 3.5 stars. The Mind F series by S.T. Abbey, and this is a 5-book series, and this book has all 5 books combined into one, so you can tell that they're all pretty short. This book does have trigger warnings, so check that out if you need to. So this is a dark crime romance thriller about a woman who is on a revenge spree, checking the names off of her list of all these guys who harmed her. And while she's doing this, she just so happens to fall in love with a detective that is on her case. It's a really good book, but it is really dark and heavy. Check your trigger warnings. I gave book 1 4 stars, and these are my ratings for the rest of the books in the series. Pull it quickly. Aha. That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming is a fun, lighthearted romantasy about literally the title, and it is filled with hilarious banter and inner thoughts, a chaotic adventure, and fun, steamy romance scenes. And the author is Black, and she uses Black slang and vernacular throughout the book, which I enjoy, and it just provides like an authentic, relatable voice to this genre. 4 stars. What happened to that book to just fall into another book? The Co-op by Tara DeWitt is a delightful fake dating marriage of convenience, soft enemies to lovers romance, where 2 exes are forced to live together and renovate a house together using money that they can only receive by getting married. I'm not even a huge romance girly, but I loved everything about this book. 5 stars. Launched by Jeff Walker is a 4.5 star nonfiction business book that teaches you how to launch your own product, which I read because I am launching my own reading journals. They are gorgeous. I love them so much. They're just the most beautiful things. I spent months creating these, and I'm finally sharing them with the world, so I can't shut up talking about them. As beautiful as the outside is, the inside is even better. They're filled with over 30 unique trackers and logs and spreads and activities and challenges to make tracking your reading journey the most delightful, fun thing in the entire world. I'm trying to keep my cool, but I'm losing my mind. There's spaces for full book reviews, quick book reviews, logs to track your TBR, upcoming releases you want to read, a vocabulary tracker. There's reading statistics and a book bracket and challenges like book bingo, a daily reading tracker. There's so much inside these books. Comment below if you want an inside tour, and go to my website at artxsun.com to sign up to be notified when these journals launch, and sign up for my newsletter in general on my website to be kept up to date about all the things, because I am launching an entire bookish collection. There's going to be matching pins, matching bookmarks, all kinds of cool things. Sign up and I'll keep y'all updated. They will be released in a couple months later this year. Look at that. What? 1 Million Followers by Brendan Kane is another nonfiction book about how to build a social media following. And I've read other books by him that are better than this one, and I've read other books on this topic specifically that are better than this one. So 3.5 stars. A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle Jensen is the worst romantasy book I've ever read, and I don't even care enough about this book to tell y'all about it. 1.5 stars. Beautiful cover, but just not beautiful or interesting or well written inside. Maybe you should talk to someone by Lori Gottlieb, or maybe just everyone in the entire world should just read this book. This is a nonfiction memoir about a therapist who is actively seeking therapy when a crisis turns her world upside down. We also journey through her patients' lives as she shares beautiful, heartbreaking, humorous stories and anecdotes of some of the therapy sessions that she has had with her patients, as well as some of the therapy sessions that she has had with her own therapist. And they are open and honest and vulnerable, and just, oof, this book is so good. 5 stars. Need to make sure this book stack doesn't fall on my doggo, who is laying beside me and will be pissed if this falls on her. Boop, boop. My co-star for the day. My co-star. She's like, don't stop petting me now. Oh, she is a sweetheart. She gets really clingy when I sit on the floor next to her. She's like, oh, you're part of my world now? What? We in this together? We on the floor together? Like, girl, what's up? The House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas, the third and final book in the Crescent City series. I enjoyed this series enough, but I'm glad that it's over. The third book was my least favorite in the series, but it was, again, good enough. 3 stars, maybe 3.5 stars. The Other Mrs. Miller by Allison Dixon is a surprisingly entertaining domestic thriller about a housewife who realizes that she is being watched, and she is simultaneously becoming obsessed with her new neighbors. So double obsession, one of which happens to be a young, handsome college kid. It is unpredictable and a super fun read. The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber is a nonfiction business book about small businesses that I heard so much about, which is why I read it. And I wish I could tell you more about the book, but I just genuinely do not remember it. But I gave it 3 stars if that helps. Never Lie by Frida McFadden is the continuation of me slowly accepting that Frida McFadden wrote 2 amazing 5-star books in The Housemaid and The Housemaid's Secret. And every single other book I've read by her has disappointed me. And I think I have finally accepted that this year, that I don't like any of her other books, just those 2. But this one has a somewhat interesting plot of a therapist's secrets and some cassette tapes of her patient therapy sessions that sound cool on audiobook, but overall it was like 3 stars. Oof, y'all, how do I talk about this book in 1 to 2 sentences? My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. So this is a modern day Lolita inspired story from the girl's perspective about a 15-year-old girl who falls into an affair, not really falls into an affair, is groomed into an affair with her 42-year-old English teacher. And the book has dual timelines of when she's 15 and that's happening, and when she's 32 years old and finally comes to terms with what happened to her, and finally accepting that what she thought was a love story was actually abuse. Y'all, this book was so good, so beautiful, heartbreaking, emotional, thought-provoking, unforgettable, all the things. 5-star read. Obviously, it's got its triggers, but this was one of my favorite books this year. Tom Lake by Ann Patchett is a historical fiction that feels like the 7 husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Little Women had a baby. A slightly less interesting baby. I'm so sorry, I'm regretting this analogy, but it's about a woman named Laura who is telling a story to her 3 daughters about the actress lifestyle that she lived when she was younger, and falling into a passionate love affair with this guy who turned out to be a really big actor. And it explores youthful love and family and nostalgia, distant memories, all those things. It is a really beautifully written book, I can acknowledge, but it's not necessarily my cup of tea. I don't really like historical fiction books, so do with that what you will. 3.5 stars for me, but I can see it being like a 5-star book for other people. The Arrangement by Kirsten Modulin is a really standout thriller for how bad it is about a couple who agrees to do an open relationship to save their struggling marriage, because what could go wrong with that plan? And as they start bringing in new people into their lives, things get all twisty, turny, and really stupid, to be honest. They just get really stupid. And it has just one of my least favorite plot twists I've ever read in a book. Sweet Talk by Cara Basson is the second in the Love Lines series, which is an Audible-only romance that is told entirely through dialogue and late-night phone calls. And it starts when sweetheart Elliot accidentally texts the wrong number and ends up connecting with tough girl Jessie, and they end up talking all night long and then every night, and it is just a really beautiful, slow burn romance. I love this entire series, and the narrators are so good. It's such a cute, just adorable series. 3.5 stars for this book. Seatmate by Cara Basson. This is also an Audible-only romance told entirely via dialogue, except for this one, the couple is in person, sitting next to each other on a 5-hour and 10-minute bus ride, and the audiobook is exactly 5 hours and 10 minutes, which is just so cute. I love those details. And what else is there to do during that time except for talk and get to know the person sitting next to you? And the men in every book in this series are super kind, super sweet, golden retriever type of men, and I love that for us. We deserve some romance where they're not just like bad, possessive men, but they're just actually really soft and kind and know how to express their emotions. 5 stars. Oh, I caught you. Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover wins the award for the book that wrecked me the absolute most this year. I don't know if I've ever wet up a book so much with my tears. That sounded weird. It sounded better in my head than it did coming out. It follows Kenna, who was just released from prison after serving a 5-year sentence for a tragic mistake, and she is trying to connect with her 5-year-old daughter, who she has never met. But the people who are taking care of her daughter now don't forgive her for the mistakes she's made and are trying to keep Kenna from being in her daughter's life. This is such an emotional story about forgiveness, redemption, love, heartbreak, fighting for your child. This book broke me, and I did not expect that from a Colleen Hoover book. I haven't read many Colleen Hoover books, but I just was surprised at how deep and heavy this got. 5 stars, absolutely. Do You Remember by Friedrich McFadden. Do you remember how completely awful this book was? I wish I could forget. My gosh, I wish I could forget. This book was the absolute last straw for me. So it's about a woman who wakes up in a home that is unfamiliar, and she is lying next to a stranger who is claiming to be her husband. If you've ever seen that movie 50 First Dates with Adam Sandler, where his wife has an accident and every single day she wakes up, she doesn't remember the previous day, so he's having to just remind her of their love over and over again every single day. Well, it's the thriller version of that, but added unlikable characters, an extremely predictable and repetitive storyline, and the top 3 worst plot twists I have ever read in a thriller or any book in general. 1 star. I would have DNF'd it, but I don't really DNF books much, so I just had to see it through, and I felt like a soldier when I got to the other end and survived that terrible book. The Game's God's Play by Abigail Owen. First, let's take a moment to appreciate how absolutely beautiful this book is. Like, wow. This is a mythological fantasy where the gods are battling for the throne by hand-selecting humans to compete in these crazy, life-threatening trials and crucibles, and the human that survives and wins the most points, their god wins the throne. This book focuses on Hades, the god of death, and the human girl that he selects, and while the romance plot is good, the challenges are even better. This was a 5-star book for me, one of my favorite books of the year. I'm a Fan by Sheena Patel. I'm a Fan is a brutally honest novella about obsession, power dynamics, and toxic relationships, following a woman who is obsessed with a mistress of a man that she is also sleeping with, and the man is also married. It's like Diary of a Side Chick. 3.5 stars, really interesting. Moon Called by Patricia Briggs is an urban paranormal fantasy, book 1 in the Mercy Thompson series, about a coyote shapeshifter who gets her power from her Native American heritage, and she gets wrapped up in this dangerous supernatural conflict when a young rogue werewolf shows up at her door. It is super good, super interesting. It's got werewolves and vampires and all these different types of supernatural creatures. 4.5 stars. I can't wait to see where the series goes. Last but not least, Dead Witch Walking by Kim Harrison. Oh, I'm tired. It's book 1 in the Hollow series, and it's also an urban paranormal fantasy, and it follows a bounty hunting witch named Rachel Morgan who has a vampire lesbian roommate and a hilarious, annoyingly lovable pixie sidekick as they navigate this world where supernatural creatures are out of the closet, meaning that they are out in the open living alongside humans. This series is packed with action, romance, and total badassery. It is a 5-star book and a 5-star series. I've read the whole 18 book series before, and this was a reread for me. So those are the 61 books I read in 2024. Let me know if you've read any of them and agree or disagree with my takes, and let me know what some of your favorites are this year. Like, subscribe, do all the things, and have a blessed day.